Becton. Now, at the time, it was Wirfs or Becton. I believe we said this after, and you've said it many times. The Jets went for the upside for the home run swing instead of the higher floor. It unfortunately has not worked out at all. Despite some nice moments from Becton as a rookie, this pick has not worked. They then juked around in the second round and ended up with Denzel Mims, who probably will be out of the NFL if he's not already. Just didn't work here. Didn't have the speed or separation or apparently the work ethic to make it happen with the Jets, and not good. Third round, Ashton Davis is actually kind of turning out to maybe be like the best pick of this class, all things considered, as a third round backup safety. Who would have thought? And then I remember this stretch in particular where we were like, what the hell's going on? Zuniga, we were like, that was a disastrous pick. LaMichael Pirine,
we crushed this stretch.
We crushed this stretch. James Morgan in the fourth round. You had a little more optimism about him. It was tepid optimism, but a little more optimism. They drafted him because he grew up in the shadow of Lambeau.
Take a day three guy. You're right. Take a day three guy and see what happens. 100%.
He did complete a Hail Mary to win a game in a preseason. Let's never forget that. Cameron Clark. We were actually excited about Cam Clark, but injuries, it just didn't happen. Bryce Hall, we were really excited about, and there were a couple of nice moments, but ultimately has not worked out. And then Braden goddamn man. So that was the first draft class. You look at it now, Becton's going to be gone after this year. So the only thing that is left is, and Bryce Hall is going to probably be gone, right? Like can't see him being back. So you're going to have your number 3 safety from this class. What do you, I remember you were pretty critical of this group in the moment. Like, and again, this is a COVID draft. We do have to caveat that. I'm sure Gase did have some input. I am trying to be empathetic here to Douglas's situation. Remembering that we were pretty critical of this draft class in the moment, especially you. So what are your thoughts on it now that we're a little further removed from it?
Well, I think that the one that headlines it all, of course, and this draft class would be completely forgiven, is taking Becton over Wirfs. It just never, you get here, right? And the roster is, and I could say this, right? Like, there's a lot of times where it's hard for me to be Mr. Couch Scout and just kill everyone's picks all the time. But I do rankings. So, and I had Tristan Wirfs over Mekhi Becton. And I remember when this happened, I was on the BR show because this was the pandemic draft. So I was doing it from home. And I was like, I can't believe Wirfs fell into their lap. Like, that's it. That's the pick. There's really not a lot of work to be done here. I think my exact quote, and I'll have to go back and watch it on the BR draft show, is like, well, yeah, you take Wirfs here. And looking back at it, it's so hard to even wrap your mind in the thought process, because a thing of scouting and team building is not if to take ceiling or floor, it's when to take each. And when Joe Douglas got this job, the Jets roster was a disaster. And he was given that 6-year deal because it was the understanding it was going to take a long time. And I think everybody understood, even if he failed to get it right for Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold had to do his part as well, and he didn't, that he was going to get a shot at another guy, and you needed to have the infrastructure in place for that guy. And when you're in that state, I don't think you need to go for ceiling, right? It's one of those things where you look at it and go, man, like, yeah, I'd love to hit on an all-pro, but knowing that the miss rate here, because of the factors at hand, I'd be, can you afford that kind of risk? Especially when a Wirfs level prospect is right in front of you that had such a high floor, whether he was going to be a left tackle or a right tackle at the next level, which, hint, hint, it feels like the Jets always need both. The fact was, it was just such a bad move looking back at it, thinking that you needed to get ceiling there and falling in love with ceiling. And I know people are thinking, well, like, Becton's upside, and there was a lot of people mixed on Becton, right? And I will try to find my actual 2020 NFL draft rankings during this. But when you look at it, like, there was a lot of mixed things on Becton, because what you do when you're in the draft is when you have a unique prospect, you look at, okay, how many guys have had success in this mold of the player. And Becton's size was an outlier, and not in a good way all the time, because not a lot of guys that size can stay healthy or have the quickness or can maintain weight the right way. These were like legitimate questions. And at the end of the day, because like all the other misses in that draft, they were bad picks, a lot of them, right? Like Zuniga and Pirine, that was just, those were way off the board picks. Mims, fine. It feels like the character didn't work out with that one. Not that he's a bad guy. It's just he was never focused. You could see it on the field all the time. It didn't work out. But if you got a tackle in that draft, it feels like you would have been forgiven if you got a tackle in that draft. You had a tough first draft. You blame the rest of those picks on the coaching staff. You got a new staff. You have some more success. So, yeah, it's an awful draft. It's an awful draft. And I think, Joe, the trickle effect that makes it worse is how much hope they held on to that draft. Like, they never addressed a replacement or insurance for Becton. And then remember, we said this. We took a lot of heat when we talked about this. And then Becton, when the second time he got hurt, they had to go sign Dwayne Brown. They gave Dwayne Brown a ton of money at almost 40 years old. And that signing's a disaster. So the trickle effect of that draft and holding out hope for that draft is just as bad as the actual draft itself.
Just compounding the mistake and just have nothing of consequence, especially on offense, which is going to become a recurring theme here. And again, some of these picks like Pirine in the moment, it was just like the traits weren't there to have that any success at the NFL as a running back, and frustrating in the moment. Now, we get to a little more complexities here in 2021. Zach Wilson, number 2 overall. We've had that conversation. We don't have to rehash it. AVT, we were both thrilled when they traded up for AVT. Still think AVT is going to be a great player. Just needs to stay healthy. When he's healthy, he's really good. He can play right tackle. He can play guard. He's versatile. He can play left tackle if he needs to, but he's got to stay healthy, and he hasn't. So we'll see. Elijah Moore and Michael Carter initially seem like great picks, great building blocks. After their rookie years, both are gone now. And like, I don't think Michael Carter is going to make much noise anywhere else. Moore's been like okay in Cleveland, like not great. Kind of crazy how quick those picks went south, but have now left the Jets with, again, no day 2 offensive contributors going into next year. Also, starting a theme of Joe Douglas drafting small on offense and the small Jets. Zach Wilson small, Elijah Moore small, Michael Carter small. Sherwood, who we were kind of like lukewarm on, and he's been lukewarm. I mean, he's still here, but he's not a starter really. Michael Carter, the nice thing of this draft with the Carter and Eccles picks late, where we're like, but they've both like been developed really well and have been, Carter in particular has been excellent. I mean, great value. Eccles has actually also been great value as a 6th round pick. Pinnock could have been good value, but they cut ties too early, and he's been a nice player for the Giants. Nasruddin, I think that was one like both of us were pretty excited about, and it just didn't work. Did you really need to double up on the college linebackers or the college safeties you were moving to linebacker instead of taking more dart throws on offense and offensive linemen? That's where I have a problem. Like, you look at this run after Michael Carter, it's college safety to linebacker, cornerback who you wanted to convert to safety, college safety you're moving to linebacker, cornerback, and then Jonathan Marshall, just another interior defensive lineman. Like, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight dart throws on the defensive side of the football. And here we are with no offense or no offensive depth. So I think now that we're further away, like, this class looks rough. Like, the Michael Carter pick looks great. AVT, you hold out hope for. The rest of it,
yeah, he's been good
tough.
when he plays.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's what do you think about this now that we're a few years away from it?
There's no denying how tough this one is. And you talk about, drafting a small team in this one. And even if you love Zach Wilson, like, you give that one a pass because he's not tiny for a quarterback. He's just not in any way big. But you look at Elijah Moore, 8th percentile height, 6th percentile weight, 7th percentile wingspan. I mean, essentially coming into the league as one of the smallest wide receivers right away. Michael Carter, 5th percentile height, 18th percentile weight, and that's a combine weight. I don't really think he constantly played over 200 pounds.